All right, good evening. How's everyone doing? Very good. All right, we'll get started. My name is Uneducated. I work right here at Visa as a portfolio manager, and I'm very happy to see you all here. We should get a lot more people because of the traffic. I think a lot of people are right there somewhere. They'll join us any moment. There will be more food coming, so during the break you can enjoy some more food. We underestimated how many people might show up tonight. So great to see you all. This is our 4.5 years since we started the meetup, and it's so great to see you all. It's always good to see new faces. So who are the new faces? Who's the first timer here? Amazing, all right, welcome. It's always great to see new people, and as I always say, this is only the first time this time. You'll be our permanent members, and hope to see you all the time at the meetup. Every month we come up with some new themes, some new industry leaders who can come here, talk with us, give us their perspective on how the industry is working, what are the real agile trends, where is the leadership going, what's the thinking all around in terms of agility and agile. And as we all know, if you are practicing some kind of agile, you know it's a living, breathing community. It just doesn't constitute just a set of processes, but we learn every day and every night as we go around the globe. So with that introduction, I would like to introduce our tonight's speaker. And his company is well known, of course. He comes from Google. He works in this jazzy Google Maps division. And before that, he has also worked several years for YouTube. And that's a great scaled agile, I would say, not in the scaled agile way the safe people have created, but much more than that, a real scaled implementation of how the videos work all over the world. But prior to that, and that's something that we all would love to know, prior to that, our speaker was working right here at Visa. Wow. Yay. And since we're talking about Visa, Visa is our biggest sponsor for this meetup, sponsoring the rooms, sponsoring the food, the security, and everything that we see here. So a big round of applause for Visa. We have quite a few people coming from Visa as well, right here, right in front of us. So it's my pleasure to have this event every month. So hope to see all of you keep coming every month. So with that, my Agile Retrospective is the topic tonight, where I think Moshe Gotesman, if I correctly pronounced that.
One of the best in America.
There you go. One of the best in America. We're going to speak. Pronunciation. I'm talking about you. All right. So good to see you here. Moshe and I have worked together at UC Berkeley Extension. We've taught agility to the new aspiring students as well. So we have been connected for a few years, or maybe a decade now. So
just mostly contact.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you very much. You may see when we need to break.
Yes, we'll break around 6:45, 7 o'clock, depends on where you're about to end.
I'm notorious for forgetting.
I will do that.
So yeah, everybody, thank you very much for coming. It's a pleasure, it's an honor, and I hope we'll have something useful here tonight. So, I call this my Agile Retrospective, but the more I looked at it, and the more I thought about it, and the more I read on the internet and talked to people, I realized that it's not just my retrospective. Many people have the same, more or less, experiences, more or less the same good experiences experiences, bad experiences, and so on. And I found out that what I'm going to share today is probably pretty consistent for a lot of places and a lot of people in the industry who work on Agile, who work on with Scrum and so on, and all these teams. So I'm not really pretending to be an expert in the sense that what I'm going to tell you is like amazing things that you never heard about, discoveries that I made, because I think most of the things that I show you, at least some of you will go, yes, yes, been there, I have scars of my own, and whatever it is. But my goal today, actually, I would like it to be, if possible, also kind of educational in the sense that asking you for help about, I will present, you know, a bunch of problems that I've seen or issues, and I'll be happy to hear from you guys. What have you done in your world around those problems? Do you have experience? Did you figure out stuff? Because I think these are problems, some of them actually serious problems, that ongoing, see them again and again, almost all the time, and we begin to ask the question, you know, is Scrum still a thing? I begin to hear noises in the community, not necessarily here, all over the world, that say, you know, Scrum actually is not such a big deal as people make out of it. We need to do something better than Scrum. My problem is that I haven't seen anything better yet, but I begin to hear these kinds of noises. People saying, what's the big hoopla here? It's not such a big deal. It's not actually so good. So maybe we need to do something better. Wherever I read, I used to go to the internet, I go to the internet and I say, okay, let's see, there's this proposal, I have a better suggestion, I have a better idea. Those better ideas usually go either to, I'm an engineer and I want complete freedom, don't tell me what to do anymore, I'll do whatever I want, however I want, let me do my innovation, which means no management, no overhead, no supervision, no nothing, and trust me, it will be okay. Or things like waterfall hidden inside a Scrum, or things like that. So in other words, I have not seen yet, at least as far as I can judge, a proposal that says, that to me said, yeah, I think this can be better. This is the next generation. This is the next great idea. But I'm happy to hear. I'm again definitely not pretending to be an expert in this. So today what I'll do, I'll cover a number of things that I went through in my professional life as a Scrum Master or being around around Scrum teams. At Google, for example, I also coach a little bit teams that come and say, can you help us get Scrum straight in our group? And I'm like, let's see what you guys are doing. And I see all kinds of funny things and strange things. And also from other jobs that I did, without providing names, also had these kinds of strange things that I saw. And so I'm going to maybe try to go over those with you. So let's review some of those. And like I said, what I found out is my retrospective probably is not going to be very unique. Okay, so hopefully everybody is familiar with this. Okay, the manifesto. Anybody? Everybody knows manifesto, Agile Manifesto? The famous thing, for those of you who are not familiar, this is probably how Agile started. Back in 1998 or something? I don't remember exactly. 2001. 2001, oh, I'm off, sorry. With a bunch of angry engineers who went off, did a long weekend or something like that, who said, we cannot work anymore doing this thing called waterfall. And so they came up with this thing, and this is kind of the Bible, if you want, of how you start Agile, what are the values of Agile. So very quickly, assuming all of you, or most of you know about this, it's very famous, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software, over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and so on. Responding to change, over following a plan. So, and Agile this is the goal of Agile, for those of you who are not so familiar. And everywhere in the world, they're at least supposed to take up these values and live and work and operate by these values. And so I found also this. which I think is kind of a dose of reality. I'm looking at those of you who actually have been working in the Agile environment and trying to do Agile in your environment. So I will, with your permission, I will actually read it out because I think it's nice and interesting. So, we have heard about new ways of developing software by paying consultants and reading Gartner reports. Through this, we have been told to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, and we have mandatory processes and tools to control how those individuals, we prefer to call them resources, interact. Okay. Working software over comprehensive documentation, as long as that software is comprehensively documented. Customer collaboration, I picked it up on the internet, by the way, not my mention. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation within the boundaries of strict contracts, of course, and subject to rigorous change control. Responding to change over following the plan, provided a detailed plan is in place to respond to the change, and it is followed precisely. That is, while the items on the left sound nice in theory, we are an enterprise company, and there is no way we're letting go of the items on the right. How many of you feel like, I see smiles, so, yeah, sounds familiar? So I'm making it a little, a little joking, a little funny, but this is serious stuff. We have problems in the Agile community. Right? We're struggling to make it work. I've heard pretty senior people that have been doing Scrum and deploying Scrum through their companies. Again, no names, but nice big companies where they really officially decided to do Agile as a strategy. And they are doing Agile, by the way. And yet, when you talk to them about how does it work and how does it flow and how are you happy, and especially scale up, and the reaction is like, kind of thing. Okay? So, I'm not trying to say that Scrum doesn't work or that it's bad, but we have problems. And they become, I get a feeling at least that they're a little bit more kind of acute over time. Yes, sir.
Stop me, because I know if you want to take questions.
I'd like to, please. I forgot to say, I can't talk all the time, please.
Okay. So, just an observation, the slide that you showed, I think it's a little bit, it's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, right? But a lot of it seems like somebody saying the problems with Agile, right, are because people aren't really doing Agile, or they're not following the values.
The organization, especially.
And so, my question then is, and whether you're going to talk about it, right, is that's one talk, right, is people not really doing what Agile prescribes to do, and the other talk is kind of what you hinted at in your earlier slides, is that people are doing what is prescribed, and yet there are issues with it.
Yes.
So I'm just curious as to which direction you're going to go in, or are you...
Probably both, because I think there are both kinds of problems. This, for example, alludes more, in my mind, more to getting company support for Agile, because in almost all of these cases, if not all of them, the situation is that the Scrum team maybe wants to work Scrum and do Agile and all that, but the business, high-level people will come and say, sorry, there is a contract. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. We have a contract. The contract says you must deliver this on this date and you'll get this kind of money. So I don't care if you do Agile. I want this on this date, period. And I just said, that's not how we work. So usually, these kinds of things come from above. Okay? And it's a big problem because we need the organization support. We need the enterprise support, right? To help us with this. We cannot do it all ourselves, and if the enterprise is not supporting us, actually in these cases, they are, in a sense, against us, because they have their pressures and their needs. So, I'll go forward and talk a little bit, first of all, at the level of the organizations. Sorry, problems that I've observed in organizations around Agile and so on. Okay, so where's the executive support, which is along the lines that I just spoke, right? A lot of places you have a problem with how to grow Agile within the company, especially if you don't have the company support at a high level, at a strategic level. I don't know how many places you have seen or you have been in where it's a sort of a grassroots effort where some team says, we're going to do Agile. But the whole environment around them is not Agile, doesn't know Agile, does not try Agile, and everybody had this kind of experience, any scars or anything like that. That is hard, right? This is hard to do. It's hard to do successful Agile within one little team and get it done successfully where everybody else is doing something else. We release on a 6-month basis cycle. That doesn't help us if we do everything every 4 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever. So that's hard. Okay? And by the way, my goal today is with these kinds of things, I would like you guys to put some, if you don't mind, to put some thought into it and try to, especially those who have experience, and try to think, what would you do if you were in a situation like that? Okay? In a situation where you're a grassroots team, you want to do a job, the company doesn't do it, is not aware or doesn't like or is not interested or whatever, can you even grow an agile community and an agile methodology in the company, in the organization, starting from one team? Because I ran into cases where I had, not myself, but I saw enthusiastic teams that says, we're going to do agile, and we're going to show everybody how cool it is, and so the whole company would then follow us, and it would be awesome. Any experience there? Do you have any experience there? Sir?
We had in the company a team started to do agile, and that was successful. And basically it sort of spread into another team. It was 100% following all the rules? No. They did what made sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it didn't go to the whole company, but it was growing.
And did it, so I don't know the size of the company, but did it grow to a large organization, maybe an organization of hundreds of people or thousands of people?
Well, no, I mean, the company was several thousand people, but actually the software development was not only like 60 or 100 people.
And it was a software organization, software development organization. Oh, in software development, by the way, it's much easier to implement Agile and things like that. It started there, it's kind of a natural place, so it might be easier. Anybody else has any other experiences, maybe good ones, bad ones?
Our software, our engineering team is very behind it, but sales people don't understand it, and the CEO doesn't understand it. So then you have the situation you described where that's all nice that you do this agile thing, but I have a contract and the money comes and you get it done.
Yeah. How many of you had the situation where you maybe wanted to do a job or whatever, and the salespeople came and said, we already signed the contract, and we committed to the customer to deliver on this date, this scope. You, Agile, do not get to choose what you work on, and when you're going to deliver. You shall do what the contract says. And I don't want to present the business people as if they are, mean, evil people. They have their precious. They do business. They see the money. They bring the money in. And money is important. We work for the money, right? So it is important. Okay. And so I'm not sure I have a solution how to do that, but what I've seen did not encourage me personally to say, if I see a small team that says, we want to start, to do Agile, and we will spread the word of Agile in our company, and everything will be great. And my tendency is to say, you may want to consider. And I'm not trying to be negativistic, but I've seen this not working. So, one of the things that I see that is problematic. And then even if the team says, okay, we'll do it within our own little team, we'll do only our own Scrum kind of thing, I wonder if anybody has any experience with this work. Not spreading the word, no, just let us work. Everybody else is doing like waterfall or whatever, or nothing, or chaos, or whatever happens in the company. But we will try to do Agile. Do you have experience, anybody? How many people, by the way, excuse me for interrupting, how many people have experience with working in Agile in some fashion? So there's some people. So back to my question.
If I've had the experience where the team is doing Agile, and then the management decides, oh, we need to reallocate our resources, and they pull two QA people that's their specialty off this team, and they put them somewhere else where it's more important, and then your team is fractured, and they don't replace it, and the scope of work stays the same.
Yes. So that's a good example. It is a good example, this whole story about resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you keep them? Can you keep them collocated? Do they stay on the team? What's going on there? So I hope everybody heard, and I think I decided about the collocation thing, right? In Agile and Scrum, it's supposed to be collocated. How many of you are successful in seeing Scrum teams which are collocated? I'll talk about it in a minute. Let me try another one. Okay. One of the things I think that management, high-level management, misses, even if they subscribe to Scrum, even if they say, the executives say, you know what, I'm convinced this sounds like an awesome idea, let's do Scrum. They forget that there's a price to it, so to speak. They have to pay something. It's not something that they say, yes, let's do it, and it happens. And there's some commitment on their side. It has to happen. All right? First of all, I mentioned it in other words, the fuzzy triple constraint. So again, how do you teach management, leadership, that we're not 100% confident and cannot give you a very hard commitment that on this date, we will deliver the product complete and perfect. Okay? That's the triple constraint. How do you explain to to leadership, management, that it's not going to work like this, that actually the way it's going to work probably better is you get something really often, really frequently, every time you get something valuable and every time a little bit more, but when we're going to be finished, and what it's going to look like, we cannot guarantee to you right now. And the leadership has to work with this. They have to accept, and they will ask, how do I convey this concept to my customer who paid me $1 billion to give something very defined on a certain date? Anybody has experience with that kind of pressures? Okay? I would like, if you don't mind, to see, I want to warm things up a little bit. If you don't mind, around the table, in the groups that you sit in, can you discuss this particular problem and see if you might come up with an idea? If you are now, even maybe a leader in your company, and you realize this problem, what would you do? Would you come back and say, it's not going to work, let's kill Scrum? Or I'm really happy to work with you, and I'm going to go to the customer and make them understand, whatever, or anything in between. Take a minute or two, if you don't mind. If you have some energy, be agile, and let's see if you come up with some ideas. Because I want to re-emphasize, I'm not pretending that I have solutions, okay? Or the best ones. You can write it down in stickers if you want.
Yeah, actually, I think there are two trade-offs. The first one is that in waterfall, you're not guaranteed anyway, because the waterfall schedule is going to change no matter what. So it's not a good design. You can still compare apple with apple because the schedule is not stable. And the other thing is that you can set exactly the trade-off between the fact that the commitment is less defined, but you let the customer to change something while you are doing that. So, let's suppose that you have a project that lasts 9 months. You sign a contract with the customer and you say, okay, whatever you told me today is delivered in 9 months, but I'm not going to change a bit. While with Agile you can say, okay, we actually share some risk, we give visibility of a little bit of risk, but we give you some little bit of tuning that may be done even during the execution of the project. So there are pros and cons that may be shared with the customer. This is basically what we have done. Yeah.
Design tools?
I've been working in Cisco. So, part of it. Yeah, now Cisco is really much Agile.
I think that the scenario is
sales goal, something. This is what we're going to go with.
Okay, people have suggestions.
I believe that
Peel away. Take a little bit, build on a little bit, build out, and a little bit, build out. I mean, you have to have something in mind of what the business is about to begin with. Well, I mean, yeah, otherwise you don't have to start. I'm building, Lincoln Logs. I'm just going to start building logs. I'll see what the house looks like. So you really have an idea. I think I want the house to look like that. Well, you might say, maybe, this might be kind of cool. So you put here, and you set it there, and doing some studies, this is actually more operating. This is more valuable. So it's
I'm looking for people to give some suggestions, ideas, if at all. Please attention. Thank you. I'm happy by the way that you're trying to discuss these things. Any suggestions? I had a lot of talks, so I'm expecting a lot of feedback here. Sir, we'll start with you.
So, I think one of the points that came up just to try and level set with management is to, I think, maybe while you're acknowledging that Agile Scrum is imperfect and not necessarily a guarantee to meet that particular, say, scope and schedule commitment that management has, that neither are other methodologies as well. Just because you have, say, a waterfall plan that shows how you're going to deliver and deliver on time, frequently you don't, right? And so whatever methodology you use is not perfect, and to be able to, it's not necessarily an answer for having Agile meet their needs, but it's more of a reality check to say that there are different ways of going about doing it, but you're not guaranteed your results even if you choose a non-Agile methodology.
Thank you. I agree. I would just add to what you said a comment that usually what the leadership will say, and I think they will be justified, they will say, okay then, fine. Let's say that we accept this approach, that it's not perfect, and this is one of the things that you have to live with. What is the value that you do bring to me? So, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice this, but what am I getting in return? So we need to know how to articulate it. But still, I think it's a pretty tough job to convince management, because for them, money, time, deliverable, getting the revenue, is obviously the most important thing. I'll let the lady first.
Thank you. My suggestion is to make work visible as much as you can. One of the key success criteria is to be able to see what the product owner or the sponsor wants, and also convey that to the team as well as to him what is possible and what is not possible within the limited time constraint.
Thank you. I like that. The only comment I will make around that, if you want to keep this quick, is what you think, if I understand correctly, is when Scrum is already running, it's already underway. And that is, I think, an awesome idea to do it. There will be, though, a problem when I have to still convince my company to even agree to do a job. Right? But this is a good idea. I like that.
Sure, I'll take one.
Yeah, it looked like we wanted to.
So I think it depends what variation of Agile you end up doing. What level of trust, the sponsor has in you and your team just right off the bat. But if you find yourself with at least some known scope at project initiation, then I think documenting the MVP, anything that you would consider to be MVP up front, and then kind of laying out some guidelines related to what your product owner can do. Assuming the product owner and sponsor are two different people, what types of decisions? Yeah, right. What types of decisions your product owner will be making throughout the life cycle of the project. So a little bit more transparency again.
Agreed. An MVP, minimum viable product?
Yes,
Yes, thank you. So MVP for those, want to know, minimum viable
By
product.
the way,
Sorry.
I'm Allie. I'm not. So this is my first event that I've come to, so that was nice of to invite me.
Thank you for coming. I
Thanks
hope
for having
you're
me.
already participating. A good sign. That's a good
I'm
sign.
from Robert Half, by the way.
Oh, nice. Thank you. I think you want to say something else. And again, don't feel uncomfortable to talk because I don't know better than you. That's the situation.
So I agree with the visibility a lot, and a good idea is to start from bottom up. But I believe that if you don't train the leadership, if you don't train them, this is how I would start. Of course, you can start with a department, with a team, so that you have something to show. But there's no way you do something successful in Agile if you don't train the senior management. You have to start from there, I believe, and because it's all the culture and the belief system that has to change. That does not mean, if you were the CEO, you would like to have results and financials. That does not mean that if we implement Agile, we don't deliver on time or we don't have deadlines. And the Agile community is responsible in articulating and showing to the management of the companies this thing. So, and the scale is very challenging.
Yes.
Most of the time. So
yes.
It goes back to the Agile community then to articulate a good proposal for scaling this drive.
That's a good point. I'm curious, maybe you have ideas to continue what you said, training leadership. Are you thinking, if you were like a consultant who has to, consultant don't have a good name anyways, have to go in and do that, would you like recommend for management to go take a class?
No, for sure not. What I would do is I would bring in an Agile coach.
Okay.
I would, if I was responsible to implement it, I would organize it. I would know what the company needs because every company is different. And I would bring the Agile coach in there, and I would engage management and different teams in multiple trainings actually. And then we would create a plan, and we would know how we will run it, company using Agile. So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
He has one.
All the points I agree to that, but still, the CEOs, CTOs, if you think from their side, they still have a market commitment.
Yes.
Most of the projects that we have, we might be following all the Scrum methodologies, but end of the day, you have a goal to meet a deadline or timeline.
Yep.
So I don't have a solution, but how would you address that if you really don't stick to a plan?
Now you tickled me. Can we go to the next question? Like I said, I'm not saying I have solutions. Like I said, the industry is struggling with that, right? And I think you're right in that we cannot do sort of like the pure Agile, which says, hey boss, you're not going to know when we're going to be finished and how much it's going to cost and all that kind. No, you just have to wait. Wait for us and we'll deliver. And that is not going to fly ever, in my opinion. You have to find the smart middle way. And by the way, to just mitigate a little bit all this dark talk that I do, it's not that Agile is completely hopeless and helpless in this area, because there are ways to do a little bit of a good job. For those of you who are familiar, you can do some release planning. You can do some initial estimates. In the different release plans, you'll say, I'm trying to commit, or at least I'm I believe I can hit this target. Okay? So it's not like you tell the managers completely off. You're not going to know anything until we deliver. You do give them a plan, but you have to educate them to understand it's very flexible. And like somebody said, one of you I think said it, if you make sure that management is involved more closely and have frequent updates about progress, and you show them progress, and you show the customer, and the customer comes and says, this is awesome, this is the best way. If you can get the customer on your side, you have a huge winner. Okay? And if you can talk to the customer and say, Mr. Mrs. Customer, whatever, doesn't matter, you can say, look, first of all, they need to know what Agile is also, right? And they need to be more or less on board with you, what Agile even is, what Scrum is, what is it all about. And in this case, If you can get them to a point where they're willing to work with you, they're willing to say, okay, we have a contract that says that by December you must deliver this. However, we know that you work agile, and we're willing to be flexible on the condition that one of our, for example, engineers is sitting with your team and reporting back to us how you're doing and progress and status and all these kinds of things. This is the collaboration between the customer and us, which is a very important value and principle in Agile. If we can do these things, if we can work through these things, make them happen, Agile becomes much better, much easier, and much more effective if everybody plays the game together, especially the customer. The customer is willing to be flexible. I think everybody else will be willing to be flexible. It's a very nice idea. How to make it happen, I'm not sure. Okay? Like I said, the first thing is they must understand and know what Agile is. They must subscribe to it. They must agree, the customer, right? Must agree that this is a good idea and take it from there. Then you have a good starting point. If not, you'll probably be most of the time with this kind of, collisions. Somebody has a microphone, sorry.
Yeah. I do agree with the points that it should be top-down. It should be top-down approach. And regarding the customer having a deadline and want to release the product and all those things, in my view, I think it is in advantage for the customer because he gets the opportunity to see the product, pretty in 2 weeks of time. And instead of seeing the result after 6 months or 1 year and then going back and changing the requirement, it would be in agreement and in advantage with the customer. So I think it's definitely a positive thing for the customer to go agile. And when it comes to the organization, when they're implementing agile, there will be multiple departments in the organizations and everybody have their own methodologies. And it can't be like on day one, everybody needs to be 100% agile. It's not possible. We are learning, every phase is like, as we know the basics of agile, it's inspect and adapt, right? So we start learning. It is each individual as well as a team. We keep learning on what is comfortable for them, how they are going to move forward, what is that they're going to learn on every day. Slowly, start like having a stand-up, having a planning session, having a sprint idea, right? So start slow, and then eventually you will reach 100% agile. This is what I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that the way that can work and could be successful, the customer doesn't know what they want. So very rare that you have a contract that in the 15th of December you deliver this and this and this. You get into this change contract and things like that, and I think that's where Agile can help. You have the contract that you don't know what you want, and I don't know what I'm going to deliver, but they're working on it together.
Yes.
So that could be a winning formula.
If you have this situation, I agree. I totally agree. Because what happens is the legal people, they try to close the deal as strict as possible with no ways and no flexibility, and you want the opposite. So you have to find the right way.
In terms of the first one about how do you get an enterprise company to do this, there's nothing like a little competition. So if you're Visa, you say, hey, Amex and MasterCard are doing this, and they've gotten good results. So that is where, because there are lots of companies doing this in a modified scale. The second part about the value, I think one of the things that's not measured is the engagement that we get from our developers and our test engineers who are working in kind of Scrum model, where you are self-driven, self-motivated, self-organizing. And a lot of companies are measuring employee engagement and productivity, and how do you have an employee stay with you. So that's, I think, another aspect of value.
I like it. Yes, thank you very much. It's a good point. By the way, I have not thought about the idea of competition. To scare my scare my management, hey, there's competition, you gotta do it too. Might be a good idea. You do it elegantly. Anybody else?
Just to close, there are certain industries, right? Like, for example, finance and other industries where we need to comply to the mandates. Otherwise, we will be susceptible to fines or whatever. In that cases, we should follow a hybrid model, kind of, whichever works for the industry. Because you can't just focus, because there are a lot of players around. Even a small change would impact other 10, 15 teams.
So you can't be truly agile that each sprint I change my direction and innovate. So it depends on the industry and the company as well, how you employ your agile scalability across.
And if you even can deploy it, I agree, I forgot to mention it. I think there has to be kind of an understanding or an assumption that Agile is not perfect for everything, although I think some Agile guru will now shoot me in the head. But I do think that in some cases it just doesn't work well. I'm not saying you cannot implement Agile at all, but you have to compromise a lot. You can implement some principles, some concepts, but some projects are really hard, I think, to implement. So you need to recognize if your environment, your projects, the kind of things you do in your company, even will work with Agile. Let me try to wake this up, if you don't mind. Sorry about this. My apologies. Okay, I'll go quickly over the other things if you. I'm happy to hear. But again, I want to recap that what I'm talking about in this slide is that leadership, even if they agree to do Agile, they need to understand that it's not enough to say yes, okay, go ahead and do it. There's something they have to do on their side. So getting used to this fuzzy situation. They have to understand that we need to implement training, we need to build the teams, we need to put some infrastructure in place. All these things take money, take resources, take time. Okay? And they need to understand, because usually all of those things are missing in the company, where even when the big chief says, yes, do Agile, now you have to start the work. Right? Another thing that rarely happens is collocation. And I would like to ask you, how many of you people who work in it, those of you who work in an Agile or Scrum setting, how many of you have your teams 100% collocated? So we have like 2, maybe 3? No.
Not 100% though.
Not 100%. Okay.
So there's a combination, right? I mean, in an enterprise, there will be lots and lots of people.
Yes.
But as a team, are they co-located? I think that is important.
And that's my question.
Right. And
not in organization.
But you can scale it with so many different locations, right?
No, I agree. When I was asking specifically for let's say a Scrum team, they say a Scrum team is 5 to 9 people, right? I think I have met more teams that were dispersed than teams that were collocated, in my experience, okay? And managers will say, there's no way we can change it, which is another way of saying, you somehow do Scrum, well, we don't want to put any effort to help you and support you on this. We don't want to pay the price or make the sacrifice that we need to do on our side in order to support you to be successful doing Scrum or doing Agile. And that's a problem, okay? And the last one, which I think is almost last one, I think that's kind of something that everybody misses. It's going to get darker before it's going to get lighter. So what happens, almost like every new system, every new thing you bring into the company, not only that it will take time for things to improve, but most likely in the beginning, they will get worse before they get better. Because the system is in transition, people relearn, people readjust, all this kind of stuff. So productivity goes down actually for a little while, depending on how quickly they ramp back up. And leadership is in shock. Here's my proof that I suspected all along from the beginning that Agile doesn't work. Okay? Now, we have an obligation to speed things up as much as possible, to ramp up and get to good production as quickly as possible. But management needs to understand there's going to be probably a little degradation in performance while we ramp up and learn this until we reach our more or less steady state. And hopefully, if everything goes right and well, this steady state should be better than what we have today. But before that, we'll have a little bit of a downturn. Okay? Management usually don't smile when they see that. If you have the thought in your mind to make sure to tell them, hey, be aware. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And no micromanagement for you. Okay? The strict Agile teams are like that. They kick the managers out of the room, literally. Okay? So that's something management has to get used to, because it basically says, you need to wait for us. We will call you in when we're ready to show you something. Not easy for managers at many different levels. Okay, so this is, we spent quite a bit of time on this, but I think it's useful stuff. By the way, I'm not saying I'm going to finish all the slides. I had a bunch of them. Whatever we can cover, as long as you feel it's useful, I'm happy. Okay, so here's like another one, which is the naive executive. I touched upon it a little bit. Okay, usually Scrum teams, or however you want to call it, people who want to bring Scrum and Agile into the company, they try so hard to convince management that they tell them these rosy stories, just to convince you, please say yes. And a lot of times these people go, the management goes away with a picture in their mind, which is not so realistic, that Agile is the magic formula, just wave your wand, and wow, things will going to be much better starting tomorrow. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be darker a little bit before it's going to get lighter, and they need to know, and they are in for a shock if they think this is how it's going to be. Okay? Everything's going to be flowers and butterflies. Yes, it is, but not tomorrow. Or if done right, yes. Hopefully going to be, but not tomorrow. Be ready to go through the transition, which is not easy. May not be easy. Okay? What would you say can we do to make sure it doesn't happen? We don't run into the naive executive, because what happens after that, the naive executive turns into a very angry, frustrated executive. What would you do? Nobody else? Yeah, help us.
The coaching that you mentioned is a good idea.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I think the coaching and training that she mentioned was a great idea, to set expectation realistically. Also, ideally, if you had some little pilot that you could sort of demonstrate results and show that there is light after dark, that would be helpful too.
Yes, for sure. Any other suggestions?
Be realistic.
One thing that we did when we went through that, one company I was at, is we told the management up front, we said, you have problems, you don't know what some of these problems are, they're going to surface more when you start using Scrum teams. And that was true. Maybe you have a team that doesn't have good automation, or you have a poor teamwork between these groups, or something like that you don't know about, and it will be easier to see that. And that happened. That kind of was our experience of the dark before the light. But, it didn't, not that they loved it all, but at least we told them something was going to happen.
So I'm curious, and again, I'm not saying, so when you told them before it happened, but when you kind of forewarned them, how did they react?
I think they were kind of worried, but,
went along.
Yeah, they went along, yeah.
Yeah, good. Again, I don't want to make it look like Scrum has no chance and it's a terrible thing, but there are just difficulties, and I'm glad to hear cases where things actually went well, or reasonably well. But I think, yes, you both, all of you are right. The point is that, like I said, when we sell Scrum to management, we forget to also warn them that it's not all rosy, and we need to put them, kind of on notice. Be aware that this is going probably to happen. And please, stand by us. If not, say right now. Okay? Tell us right now that you don't want to do it. But if you want to do it, be prepared, and be prepared to work with us and fight it through, kind of thing. Okay? So I think that's important. I don't know if you have any other comments about this? Or about Dilbert? Give me a minute to read it if you want. Yeah, Dilbert figured it all out years ago. You want to say something? I'm sorry.
I just want to add that I think that there's another scenario, because background here seems to be all about convincing your management to go along with Agile. But I've also seen the other scenario, and not just with Agile, right, where management basically picks up on something. They went to a conference, they had lunch with somebody, whatever, right? And
the next magic thing, yeah.
We've seen, if you've been around, you've seen this before, TQM, re-engineering, et cetera, they pick up on whatever the latest thing is, and they come back and they say, we're doing this. And they may still have naive expectations about it, but I think managing that situation is a slightly different task than what you talk about here, right? You still have to set expectations appropriately, but you also may be bringing some reality and some cold water to sort of over enthusiasm in addition to skepticism.
Yes. At the end of the day, we need to bring them to the same level. Now, it doesn't matter which of these scenarios are. So you need to bring them to the correct level of understanding what they need to expect. And also, maybe I'll leave you with this. One other thing that goes into everything is fast and smooth. At least in the early years of Scrum, everybody thought that Scrum is going to be this easy thing where in waterfall we spend 1 million hours and don't get anywhere. Here we'll spend 5 minutes and everything will be perfect. And I keep telling to people, I teach it at work and things like that, I keep telling them, it's not easier. It is probably as hard as waterfall in terms of work involved and commitments and stuff that you need to do in order to make it happen. But it's supposed to be better. Not easier, better. Over time, when you learn to do it well, maybe it becomes a little easier, but that's not the big deal about Agile. It's better, not necessarily easier. That is my
It's a question. Why do you think it is better? Why do you think it is better? Why do you think Agile is better even though the work is same and hard?
Oh, the results should be better, more predictable, get sooner value to the customer, all these things that we talk about, that Agile is supposed to be. But it's not about productivity. Or let's put it this way. Some teams may work and find out that their productivity is better. I'm not saying not, but the amount of work and overhead that you have to put in is significant in order to do Agile. Okay? It's not a free out of jail ticket. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do documentation. I don't have to do meetings. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. Well, you have to do those things. You actually have to do that.
Would it be also because of the engagement that we cannot measure? Is it because of that? Do you think Agile is better because of the engagement between the team members and everyone involved? Engagement.
I'm not sure what you mean by engagement in this case.
One of the things that I have heard and have seen is the team morale is very high. It goes to the roof.
Yes.
I heard somebody talking. I think it was a guy in Europe on a video. He was saying he was literally crying because he felt so much better and the team morale was so high and he was feeling so much better. It was like a game.
Yes.
It was like playing a game at work, not really working.
Well, it depends on, I think it depends on personality of the people. Some people like it better, some less. I'm not sure if everybody is in this. Do you want to say something? The Agile, come on.
I have a question about the comic strip. Why does he say that was their training and complaining? Like just start complaining.
Oh, it says here?
The first question is, what does it mean that was your training? The second question is the second portion. Start complaining. Write code and start complaining. What does it mean?
Because the usual experience in companies is that employees, the people who work there, complain. Oh, we have hard work. We're suffering so much work. Can we find a trick that will make our life easier? So that's what he meant there. He said, start writing code, start doing your work and complaining, because he's the manager and he's used to people always complaining. And that was his training, basically saying, what I explained to you here, that's it, I'm done with the training. Which is kind of ridiculous, because you have to do much more. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I came late, I might have missed a bit of the introduction. So you say Agile / Scrum, are you saying that they're very close or interchangeable terms?
Very what, I'm sorry?
Agile / Scrum, right? So are you using the terms Agile and Scrum interchangeable?
At the moment, yes.
Because in my company I had to go over an exercise to say don't use them interchangeably because Agile has a much broader sense.
Yes.
And if you look at the definition, it says the ability to create and respond to change. And
that's right.
And also balance flexibility and stability.
I accept your comment. I probably should be more careful about that. Most of the time, what I say here focuses on Scrum, but I kind of freely mix them up a little bit. So thanks for the comment. I'm trying to be careful here. Okay, so this is about kind of the naive executive. Then we have the what agile business, kind of my version of work.
Should we do this? Take a break? Take a break?
Yeah, let me do this quickly and we'll break. Okay? So we have those businesses. In this example, it comes from the business where they say, no, if you're a little bit lucky, they will ask you when you can deliver, when you will be ready. If you're not lucky or less lucky, they will actually tell you, right, when to deliver. Even though, and I'm talking about the situations where the company is agile, everybody's doing agile, and everything is cool and nice, and yet it's the what agile environment, which I mentioned also before. I think so. If anybody has any comments on that, please. If not, we'll break. Anybody familiar with this kind of situation? Right? This sounds familiar. Our life, right? It's our life. So my question is, I can see those everybody the giggling of despair, I would call it, right? The giggling of despair. So we've been doing Agile for 100 years. Why is it still the case? Why is it still a problem? I want to say something. Sure. And then we'll break.
Yeah, I run into product owners who don't know what Agile is.
Very good.
And they're a really, really, really important role on your Scrum team.
Yes.
And trying to get them on board, it's like they don't have trust because they're so used to a waterfall environment. And so I've run into things where they don't want to prioritize the backlog because they think that means that they won't get everything that they wanted. Yeah, so they're not understanding the value of Agile, but it's been being driven kind of by IT. And we're not a software company, so that, it's a little bit different.
Painful.
Yes, yeah, definitely painful, and just continuing to try to coach them can be kind of a painful process too if you're in a role like Scrum Master, which I am at my organization. But yeah, just trying to get them on board with the mentality, I think, is where it gets really tricky, especially if you have somebody that doesn't have trust already in the team.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I have a whole slide about this. I'll get there. I got to give you a chance.
What is the water gile business? Is it about?
I'll tell you at the break. It's waterfall and agile. It's a combination of words. Waterfall and agile. Everybody, let's take a break. I don't want to delay you. And when you will continue with that?
All right, yeah, so I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break for 15 minutes. We come back at 7:15. There's some more food expected, so if you didn't get a chance to pick up some food or the food is not left over at all, there will be more food coming. But one more thing that we need to remember is when we come back, we will have 3 lightning talks. So if you're the first timer, here is the rule, and a simple one. Any one of you can think of a 3-minute Agile experience talk. Okay, just 3 minutes, not a big deal. Think about an experience that you want to share about your Agile experience, good, bad, ugly. Okay, and give me the title of your talk, a topic, and your name during the break on a sticky. Okay. We will give chances to 3 people that will consume 9 minutes, not more than that, right after the break. And during the break, if you've gotten some good takeaways, write them over there. Takeaways, right in the middle one. And so far, if you have learned something or if you have new ideas, stick those stickies there. Agile Retrospective need not be at the end of the sprint, right? They're all along. So make use of that. If you want to discuss as a group something, there's a third one that's available for you. So let's utilize our 15 minutes and come back.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you. So it's time to share your experiences. And instead of 3, we got 2 lightning talks, which is good enough, because these are some good additional nuggets that we get every month, right? And we really, really appreciate the people who dare to come on the stage and introduce themselves and talk 3 minutes. You'll be timed for 3 minutes, so your talk should be 3 minutes. The very first one who handed over the chit to me was Prasanthi. Prasanthi works right here at Visa with me, right on the same floor. So I look forward to her talk. She is really experienced, and she handles quite a couple teams here at Visa. And her topic is amazing. My first Agile experience. There you go. Yay.
First Agile what?
My first Agile experience. Right.
Where's her mic?
Yeah. Come on. You'll find your mic.
I would raise his hand when it is 2 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that.
Hi, good evening everyone. My name is Prashanti. I work at Visa as a program manager. I manage 2 Scrum teams. So my topic for today is my first Agile experience. So I started my career as a programmer, developer in one of the latest technologies at the time, back in 2004, right after my college. So we were doing waterfall. I didn't know what an Agile was because my first project itself was a waterfall project, and I have been doing that for 2 years. And I was quite used to it, no complaints, nothing. But then I got an opportunity to work for Microsoft. And then my first project was in waterfall. And then it was back in 2006 in Microsoft India. They were starting Agile. It was new for everyone, for the total Microsoft Development Center in India. So we got a trainer, and they asked me. I was actually consulting for them, but I was managing a couple of projects. So they asked me, Prashanti, are you willing to be a pilot for our Scrum program? Because the full-timers were not quite sure, because they would think that if Agile fails, what would happen to their performance, bonuses, etc. So they were not actually willing to try. So they said, Prashanti, can you try for your teams? I said, that's fine, but I don't know what an Agile means. Can you explain? So they got me a coach, and they explained what Scrum is, what ceremonies we have to perform. But I was a developer come a business analyst working towards the projects. But as I was consulting, I was also managing the programs. So they said, will you be a Scrum Master? I didn't know that a Scrum Master and a developer is quite conflicting, but I just wanted to give it a try. So we started our first sprint, and then we all decided that what is the time we are going to have for daily Scrums and all the ceremonies. The first Scrum, the first day we met, we all had our first hot chocolate, and we all came there. It was quite amazing. And we all loved the fact that every day we meet, the first thing we used to do was meet together with all the hot chocolates, discuss what we did, what are we going to do. It's kind of like a task list. And then the retro, we never had a formal retro. We had a lot of issues, but we never discussed. But the first retro was really amazing to see the action items coming up, and in a couple of months, we became a quite mature team, and everyone loved the way, and all the people who got scared, they started following us. And the people whom I have met in the team are still friends with me. Thanks to Agile, I made very good friendships. Otherwise, I would not have met them on a regular basis, talking on the hallways to go to the Scrum room. I really have very good experience with my first Agile team. And that inspired me to become a Scrum Master and a Program Manager in my later phases of life.
Awesome.
That's really good. The next one up is another friend of mine who I know for 10 plus years now, and his topic is cart before the horse. Eric?
Eric.
Now.
Thanks, Scoop. Can you hear me? All right. Cart before the horse. I don't want to assume, but the idiom, the cart before the horse, most people understand, everybody understands, the cart can't push the horse, right? So my experience with Agile is the cart before the horse, where we talk about sponsorship, and that you need to have that endorsement in your enterprise to make Agile really, really successful. However, some people like to say, because the boss said we need to go Agile, that we're Agile, Now we're Agile. Because my boss said we're going to Agile, and so we're going to do it. So we got Rally. Sure, let's put everything in Rally. So everything goes into Rally. How many people have access to it? No, not everybody has access to Rally. Okay. Do you know how to use Rally? No. Don't know how to use Rally. Product owner. Who's the product owner? You're the product owner. Okay, cool. All right. What's the product owner? What do I do? Who's the Scrum Master? I don't know. We're doing Agile, okay? Okay. Cart before the horse. Cart before the horse. We talked about all the training and the knowledge and the experience and the roles and the team. The irony is, to make Agile work, it's kind of a waterfall process. You got to put the horse ahead of the cart. Thank you.
Very good topic there. I think you need to elaborate that and make it a 1 hour training for all of us. Right? It's a great topic. All right, so let's welcome our feature speaker back on the stage.
So I'll continue to step through some more things that I've seen in my life. Let's talk a little bit about the process now. We talked about organization support and all of that, but about the process itself. So here's one of the things that I know, that I've seen. I know better kind of people. So somebody comes and says, hey, let's do Scrum, okay? And okay, everybody says, let's give it a try, let's try it out. I'm talking about not anymore about management, executives, I'm talking about the potential team members now. Right? And so the first thing you want to do is to train them. Like we all know, that's very, very important, just mentioned it. So we want to train them. And one of the things I saw a lot happen is people who never did anything in Scrum or in Agile generally come with a very strong opinion about everything. They judge before they try. So that's not going to work for us. We don't do it this way here. This is too complicated. This is too simple. Let's drop this. Let's remove that. And before you know it, there's nothing left of Scrum, but they still call themselves Scrum. I've seen that happen quite a bit. I don't know if you guys have an experience with it. Do you see this kind of thing happen when maybe you are the Scrum Master or you are kind of an Agile coach or whatever, and you come in and you get all those who know better, who actually don't know anything, but they are sure that they know better, and they are telling you what will work and what will not. And so they want to redesign Scrum from the beginning, from the root, and do it their way. I think you're making a lot of faces like I've been suffering from that. They want to share. We have a microphone. You okay? I mean, if I put you on the spot, kind of. Right, thank you. Yeah, stories is good. Stories is our life. Yep.
And so we started, I guess, on our Agile journey. We started, I guess, on our Agile journey maybe 5 years ago, and the head honcho at that time said, we're going to do Scrum. And every single manager under him was like, hell no, we're not. And he managed to beat half them down, and some of them never budged. QA has never become Agile. QA is functions as a service and moves, back and forth from team to team. And you never get that cohesive, we're a unit. We all are in this together and we're working on it. And then management changes, of course, and the new people, they like Agile, they approve Agile, but we are all going to now, instead of each team having their own story points, we're going to define story points by this criteria we're going to use across the company. Now we can compare teams, and whichever team has the fastest velocity is the winner.
This is one of the big no-nos of Scrum. This is not about comparing, not about performance, but I'm interrupting you.
No. So it's the people think they know how to do it, and then whatever the Agile coach is trying to implement, they argue and fight, and do not want to do that. They want to do it their own way. They invent their own
whatever it is,
Kanban-ish kind of thing, and insist on doing that. It's difficult to coach in the circumstance where there's really, a few members on various teams are very supportive and want to kind of try to do Agile, but with a change in management now, the people in the positions of power don't really seem to understand what it means and what it takes and what the basic principles are.
Yes, thank you. So, scars, I call it the scars, yes. And I saw it more than once, and it's very frustrating because I don't want to be rigid, but there is value, or I'll put it this way. Scrum has been around for 18 years, 20 years, whatever now. So there is some knowledge out there, out of experience. The knowledge comes out of experience. And there is some kind of best practices. So if you are brand new to this, please give it a try, And what I always say to teams, if they ask me, of course, is, and I have a lot of questions from students who ask me that, is, it is okay to change Scrum, at least to some degree, once you have tried it, you have experience, you can articulate now out of experience and not out of just intelligence, let's call it this way. You can articulate what worked in your environment, what didn't work, and why you want to change it, and that's legit. If you can defend your position, okay? But if you have zero experience and you start already cutting here and cutting there and changing, and this will not work, and no, this is wrong, and this doesn't make sense to me, and all that kind of stuff, yes, we have an obligation to try to help this person see the light, so to speak. If they say it doesn't make sense to me, then maybe we did not train them well enough or deliver the message clear enough. That's a possibility. But still, we need to also deliver the message to these people. Do not prejudge this whole thing and make your own decision about what will work and what will not work and what we're going to keep and what we're not going to keep. Try it the right way, or what is considered to be the right way first, and then use your experience. You have those retrospectives and everything, and it's okay to tweak, it's okay to change. Okay? I even had surprised me a Scrum team that says we tried the stand-up meeting. the day stand-up, right? And we figured that what works for us is actually a full hour of a status meeting. To me, the initial response was like, I don't want to hear the deliberate response. But he said to me, this person, it was a pretty serious person, in the team, they've been running for a year or more and stuff, and he said, we actually do very good Scrum, but only the stand-up meeting is different. And it got me thinking, I said, okay, fine, if you tried it the old way, and it didn't work, and you evolved to this new weird thing, fine, it's weird, but you evolved to it out of experience, and it works for you, I would be foolish to say, not good. But the important thing I'm trying to deliver here is, if you're in this position, try to hold your position to say, I'm not saying don't change, but give it a chance first of all. First of all, try it out, then judge it. Okay? That's at least my personal approach. Any questions or comments about this? You leave your mic. I think I'm going to give you one permanently. Go there. Yeah.
So, all the people who are sitting there, they're all different colors.
Yes. It's just too symbolic, like it's symbolic to say that they are kind of different people so they don't look alike. Because we are different people, right?
If they're the same people,
no, different people.
The same color, then they wouldn't be saying all different things like too simple, too complicated, this won't work here.
I think you're right. I haven't thought about that one. I need to think about it a little bit. Okay, thank you. Maybe a good idea. And everybody dressed the same color. Same outfit. Alright, so let's move on. It's a waterfall Die Hard, right? People want to stay, and you already alluded to it 5 minutes ago. People who just cannot give up, give up waterfall. And many times they don't have a good reason other than I'm used to it. Now, I'm not saying that it's always the case. Sometimes they bring very strong arguments and fair arguments to the table, but I'm talking about the other part, which is, I've been doing it for 10 years, waterfall, and I like it, I'm comfortable, and I'm not comfortable changing. Consider the fact that for many of them it's considered to be, I'm the genius or the guru, and suddenly I have to start something from fresh, so I'm all of a sudden, from the guru, I'm a novice. And nobody comes to me to ask questions, nobody comes to me to consult with me anymore, because I'm a novice. And people just don't want to do that. Some people will resist. Many of them will not tell you that that is the reason. They try to make all kinds of professional arguments, and it takes a while to understand. It just cannot adjust. I was in a company, a few hundred people, no names, which decided to move gradually to Agile. And similar to the story you gave, there was one guy who was a director, actually, a level director. He was one of the most senior and experienced people, engineers, engineering director in the company, really kind of like, the guru has been there forever, who knows everything. And he just wouldn't budge. All the teams around him gradually converted to Agile. Some didn't like it, some liked it, but everybody said, okay, guess we don't have a choice, the company decided to do it. And they all converted gradually. And this guy just held out, he and his team. And he wouldn't do it. I'm not sure what happened, but at some point, he just quit the job. Okay? So I don't know if they forced him out, or he just did his own, calculation and said, I guess I don't belong here anymore. But it was interesting because the only reason that I could see that he was against it was because he just didn't feel it was not his thing. He couldn't kind of psychologically, whatever, mentally to get adapted to this new way of using things. After for 15 years he's been doing it in this old other way. So you find these kinds of people, and they're really stuck in the middle of your process, in the middle of your operation, in the middle of your group sometimes. And they kind of interrupt with the efficient and smooth performance. And it's very hard to deal with them. Okay? So again, I'll ask you a few questions for ideas. Anybody wants to come up with some ideas? What the hell do you handle these kinds of people?
Oh, that was my question actually. That's the question that I wanted to ask you.
Oh, yeah, but that's okay. I'm paid to ask you. I'm not paid by the way speaking. But I have suggestions. I'm not a guru that comes with these amazing solutions, but let's see if you have some suggestions, some ideas. What would you do? Sir,
One thing that could work in some cases, like people who are now first and second level software managers, they might feel threatened by this because their job either changes or they might even perceive it as not being needed anymore. Find another role for them. How can they still have a leadership role? Can it be a product owner? Can it be a Scrum Master? Something that fits into the paradigm. But they still feel like they're contributing and they're listened to, but they're not just getting kicked out or losing their job.
Yep. So that's kind of help them through. You say, okay, thank you. Any suggestions? Ideas?
Sure. It's important to communicate and to explain what's coming and the benefits. If we can popularize it and make it sound like the true tool that it is and the true methodology that enables better performance and better delivering better results, then people might get excited about it. If we can build enthusiasm and excitement, it will sell.
Which is hard. But I agree. What happens if all efforts fail? You try to convince, you try the enthusiasm, you try to, whatever, I don't know, call them into meetings, special one-on-one, and say you must change. But they didn't.
Donuts.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next. Sugar, yeah. Sugar shot.
In my experience, I've seen when you do little pilots and show them the before and after with the team excitement, as well as the results, the difference you show, the things that you were measuring in waterfall, you continue to measure.
Right.
In terms of progress, but you also show team morale, collaboration, certain aspects which are unique to Agile will actually come up and will probably change their mind. And data speaks much better than opinions, right?
Yeah. And yeah, success is not guaranteed in any of those, tricks or whatever. But of course, we have an obligation to try to bring them along with us.
So in one of my previous companies I was working, there was this gentleman who was like a typical die-hard waterfall fan. He was very rigid. He didn't want to try out anything with the new tools we were using. He was not comfortable, and he was the decision maker. So what I finally did to show that was, we actually did a kind of waterfall come agile. We did analysis phase in like how we do agile normally, like have a sprint dedicated for analysis. He would write user stories with acceptance criteria, what needs to be done, and you need to demo the documents, like what analysis you have done. And for the first demo, he was very thrilled, because usually if you do waterfall, you don't see in 2 weeks people coming and excitingly show the documentation they have done. So he was very excited, and he also liked the story writing process where he would define like what needs to be done. So he chose to be a product owner towards the end, and that's how the journey started. But for a month or 2 months, he wanted to do analysis, design. So it took a while to come out of it, but slowly we could change him.
That's a nice trick. I never heard about that. So basically, because usually, Agile Scrum say, don't do that. Do not use one cycle for design and one cycle for planning and one cycle for that. But it looks like this trick actually worked. Help him, ease him into the right. That's a nice trick. I never heard about that.
Waterfall phase, they turned it into an agile.
Yeah.
The end of the sprint would be like end of.
No, I got it. I actually have a slide to say don't do that, but again, but actually I'm not criticizing, because if it worked, that's the best proof that it has used, right?
There's no one formula that works for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no sprint zero where you actually do the planning.
Yes.
So it's not just
I think there is one model which I think most of you guys are aware, which is ADKAR model.
Which one is it?
ADKAR, which is like awareness. I mean, why people don't want to change? Because of one factor would be awareness. People are not aware of this change. I mean, there are lack of training, lack of the knowledge, and what is the roadmap? What is it going? What is the role going to be in the new model? All those things would be there. And what is it? And the other thing would be desire. Individuals will not have the desire to change because they don't know what is the ROI out of this. So once we explain that, okay, this is what you're going to get. The organization is going to move into being agile, and you will be falling behind, right? As an individual as well as a team member, you will not be able to contribute. We need to be in a position to explain them about this, and having a good number of training sessions, coaching the individuals, and we should also reinforce that people don't want to go back to their comfort zone of being, waterfall.
That was not working well.
Yeah. So this is one of the models which I have learned, and I think it will definitely work. So that's what I have experienced. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Again, I cannot tell you that I guarantee to you that everything you heard here, all the ideas and suggestions are going to work, and it's going to be beautiful, and success is guaranteed. But I think these are good ideas, and my impression is from what I've seen is eventually if somebody is really absolutely not budging, they will eventually find their way out of the system. Even if nobody pushes them out, they will feel so strange, they will feel so out of touch anymore. You know, nobody's going to tend to talk to them anymore. Nobody's asking them to help with anything. Sooner or later, they will drop out of the system. But I agree, and definitely encourage everybody. The attitude should be, no, we don't want to push them out. We want to include them. So things you guys said are definitely helpful. Again, I'm not saying I have a wonderful solution myself. Okay, I think I already mentioned that, so I can maybe skip it or go more quickly. A lot of people get this impression, I mentioned it earlier on today, that Scrum is this very easy thing. Life is going to be so much easier. No documentation, no templates, no processes, no managers. We just want whatever, we just do whatever we want, whenever we want. Trust us that it will be okay. I think that experience has shown that what these people who say so think is okay is not what other people think is okay. So they have a different measure of what is exactly okay. Also, this basically is another way of saying I don't want anybody to tell me anything. I just want to have fun. Now, I don't mind that people would have fun if they could also deliver on time and be sufficiently disciplined about their work and you know, deliver on commitments and all these kinds of stuff. But my experience is that it doesn't work that way. When you tell people you can do whatever you want, anytime you want, just deliver something good when you're ready, it usually does not work well. Maybe your mileage is different. Any questions or comments about this? Or maybe different experience?
I mean, people are smarter than people.
Second?
What I have seen is most of the executives do not have the clarity on Agile or Scrum benefits just because they don't have time to invest to learn.
Yes.
Those who do, they really understand it really well. That's what I felt, and I really think it's always good to show them the con of uncertainty and how much the iterative development and frequent deliveries can bring in the ROI. They would really get it.
Yes. It's not, and I think you're also right that most of the people who suffer from this symptom, so to speak, they learn over time. That actually works well, even if we have some process and we have some requirements and some management over it or something like that. But the important thing is not to deliver a message to these people like Scrum is going to make your life so much easier, okay? Because that's where it's coming from. We don't have to be very scary and say it's going to be terrible or whatever. Scrum is very hard, but Scrum has its own demands, its own restrictions and workload and all this kind of stuff. It's not a game. All right. I'm not sure why it's showing not so well. So the rigid agilist is another problem that I've seen. I've seen a lot of cases where people get this look in the eye, like they have seen the great truth, and they are big believers in the great truth, and nothing can change. And they are extremists. You've got to do it by the book perfectly, or else. And they get very offended if you suggest even the slightest change. You have desecrated the holy grail of Scrum or whatever, and they try to prevent it as much as they can. And interesting, I'm sorry it doesn't look so good here. It looked well on my screen, but anyways, I'll read it out. It comes from the Scrum Guides organization, so I'll read it out. Scrum's roles, events, artifacts, and rules are immutable. Immutable. And although implementing only parts of Scrum is possible, the result is not Scrum. Scrum exists only in its entirety. Okay? And functions well as a container for other techniques and so on. And I'm saying Agile is supposed to be Agile. This doesn't sound Agile to me. So there are these two extremes. Some people say, there's no Agile means I'm Agile, right? I don't have to decide anything. I don't have to plan anything. I don't need overhead. I don't need managers. They want to throw everything out and just say, I'm Agile. That's not Agile. But there's the other extreme, which is these people who want to do it by the book perfectly, regardless of whether it works or not. Okay, and this is a kind of an official thing from this website, and I find it unacceptable. Okay, that's my personal opinion.
I would agree to that.
To me or to that?
I would really agree to this intercept from Scrum Guide, because if you really want to benefit the Scrum's benefits, I mean, if you really want to experience how Scrum can deliver iteratively and incrementally, you have to follow the practice. It's just like martial arts or it's like practicing music. You have to build the foundations really well. Otherwise, it's all going to be a messed up Scrumofall or failed Agile. I can easily state an example from where I come from or in my past experience where we don't really estimate the stories well. If you do not estimate the stories well, stories will keep on adding to the current sprint, and then everybody is going to, drop the ball. And you don't get the result, and at the end of the Scrum, there is no working software. That is the whole thing. If you don't have the working software at the end of the sprint, there is no point in doing the Scrum that way. So I would really say that the roles, ribbons and artifacts and rules are really immutable, at least to the beginning.
I was going to ask, are you saying throughout the entire period, all of the years and everything, or? In the beginning, I think we all agreed, right?
Yeah.
I said earlier, in the beginning, don't change in the beginning. Try it out perfectly, buy the book, so you can see what works and what doesn't, and you get an idea and all that. But I do think that over time you might find that some changes are beneficial, are valuable. Wait, I want to give him first.
So I stole his mic. So I love the imagery in here because you got the snake that's going to jump up and bite you, probably a turtle that makes it go way too slow. Everybody's talking about the elephant in the room. We hope that process goes by way of the dodo.
So you interpreted it nice, even better than me in this picture. I didn't see all this stuff. So thank you, I appreciate that. And so we need to have a talk about what you said. Because I do think that some flexibility doesn't have to, you don't have to change it, but if the team feels strongly that and they can defend why, I think flexibility is okay. We have to be agile. At the end of the day, it's agile. Right? So it's how much? Okay. Something that I mentioned a minute ago, waterfall in an agile coding, is this classical thing that happens a lot. Excuse me. Where people say, we're doing Agile, we're doing Scrum, okay, we're doing, so what does it mean doing Scrum? So we're doing iterations, we're doing sprints, whatever you call them, and it goes to what you said earlier. So maybe this is not an example, but like you said, we're doing the first iteration will be design, the next iteration will be architecture, the next iteration will do implementation, the next iteration will do testing, and the next iteration we will deliver 6 months down the road, okay? Well, we're doing iterations, so it's Scrum. Not only is it not Scrum, but you actually have defeated Scrum pretty badly by doing that, because you're basically just calling it, you're calling it Scrum, but you're doing a waterfall. Only in your case, the waterfall has a 1 month length or 3 weeks or whatever the time you decided, but you're doing waterfall. It's very easy to fall into this, because a lot of people feel, how can I implement if I didn't do the design? How can I do the design if I didn't do the architecture? I've got to finish it all the way through. And I don't know if I have time for this today. I think we're coming close to the end. I have more slides that also tackle this particular question. However, again, at least for the beginning, like I said, at least for the beginning, watch out for these things. This is not Scrum, and I'm not trying to be religious about Scrum, but this is really defeating the whole idea. Because the whole idea of Agile and Scrum is delivered to the customer frequently things that have value, things that work. If you say one sprint is design, and one sprint is architecture, and one sprint is this and that and the other, and you only deliver after the sprint number 7, you did not deliver frequently working, useful stuff to the customer. You actually did waterfall. Okay? Not a good idea. So this is what this guy says here. The anti-agile isn't called waterfall. It's traditional practices wearing agile clothing. Okay, that's nice. I like that. Any comments or scars or the white hair that you have based on this? Has anybody seen in your company these? And I'm not saying that people who do that do it intentionally. They try to sneak behind the door, they try to sneak in a waterfall, they just don't notice and kind of instinctively do it. Okay? So you have to watch out, they don't make this mistake.
Okay, I have a little bit of a different perspective. I'm very, very new to Agile. But it's said that it just doesn't work in software, it works everywhere. And my latest experience to it is in nature. With all the trees turning and all the flowers coming up, you see that they change incrementally. Every day a tree looks different with more flowers. So the nature is working every day, iteratively.
So one day iterations.
Yes.
I like that.
So, to me that was an example, and
nice.
To remind
I
myself.
never thought about that, that's a good idea.
Yeah, every day the tree looks different with more flowers.
Yeah, giving more stuff out, right?
Constantly working.
Yeah. And customer, I wonder who the customer is there. And it's, we need to figure out us. Yes, thank you. I like it. Nice analogy. I like that. Yes, sir.
So I've seen this not in the context usually of it being planned that way, right? But I think I've seen where teams will get into the habit of basically finishing their development work, not finishing their validation work, in part because regardless of their intent, right, the way that their workflow actually happens is you have somebody doing development and somebody doing validation, and the people doing the validation, they don't think they can start the work until that particular story is coded, right? So they wind up being at the back end, if you will, of the sprint, and their work is the work that gets basically shunted aside when the developer takes longer to get the work done than they think, right? So the net effect is what you're pointing out there, even though that wasn't the intent. And then the corrosive part that goes with that then is whether the stories are considered accepted or not, because then there's a tendency for teams to, because of outside pressures or their internal self-management, right? Yes. They wind up loosening their criteria for story acceptance, where they start accepting more stories without the stories being fully validated.
Yes, it's a well-known problem where things get kind of towards the end. This is high pressure. We need to release. We promise to release, and it's going to be a big embarrassment and shame if we cannot release or we cannot have at the end something that's called the famous, incremental product, shippable incremental product increment. So it's going to be a big embarrassment. So they start redefining what does it mean ready, what does it mean accepted, all these kinds of things. So, and again, this is another example of why, at least at the beginning, you have to be strict, because people have to go through the shock. It's not fun when you say you are 99% finished with this story, but you're not 100% finished. Therefore, we do not count this story. We're going to actually move it back to the backlog and start all over again. And people are like, they faint. They're like, I'm 99% done. What do you mean? And, if you want to do it at least by the book, there's no such thing as partially complete. You're either done or not done. If you're not done, you're not done, period. It goes back to the backlog. It is a tough experience, but it's a good learning experience. Next time they'll be much more strict about, let's make sure we get it through all the way. It's a nice thing. I think I'll go one more slide, right, and then we'll do a little bit open talk. So this is another way to look at it. I just mentioned it earlier, right? Every sprint has another, it's like another phase. And we are agile, cool. So to me, this is one of the more serious mistakes because people don't understand. Then it means they do not understand or choose to sort of like ignore, the values behind agile. Like we said again earlier, we said there's got to be some values. What are the values, right? What are we giving them actually in agile? We're giving them frequent releases with quality stuff, right? Hopefully working stuff. I think I'll stop it here. I want to talk about the Scrum team, but it's running a little late. I'm happy to come back another time. Just joking. So, if you were to questions, whatever.
Yeah, let's open for questions. Any general questions about Agile? He's been a coach as well for such a scale organization. He can answer questions.
Yeah,
No pressure.
I don't know all the answer. How do you call it? To life, the universe, and how is it else called? Nobody knows the book? Nobody knows the book? Okay. How is it called? I don't remember. Sorry, I'm mistaken. I forgot the name of the book. Douglas Adams. Say again?
Like the universe and everything.
Life, the universe, and everything. Okay. You need to read the book.
What's that?
Life, universe,
And everything. But that's not the name of the book.
Hitchhiker's Guide.
The Hitchhiker's Guide. Took me a while. Thank you very much. So it's a hilarious book. I recommend to everybody. But let's go back to business. Yes. Any comments or questions on this or anything else? Let's give that gentleman first.
I want to ask a slightly different.
Sure. Change is good. Embrace change.
This is just an experienced practitioner of Scrum and Agile. I want to ask you if you have any advice on how to implement best practices for Scrum with Scrum.
Oh, Scrum, of Scrum. No.
No, I'm just saying, if you can come here and record.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I'd like to ask you help. I have some concepts and ideas, but not an expert. No, not an expert, please.
So recently we have been working on multiple programs where a lot of teams are involved. So one of the practices we lay out is like be on time. You have to get status, right status, and if you are not making it to the meeting, send your representative. Sometimes it's possible that team members come, but they don't know the status, so they'll just come to be there, and when you ask like what's happening with the team, can you update the status, or do you have an issue, they'll say no, I have to work with my dev manager, no, I have to work with my test engineering counterpart. So the rules are straight, be on time, get your status correct, and if there are any issues or risks you feel, raise it at that point, don't wait till the end. And most of all, sometimes when you are with engineering teams, they tend to talk a lot. So if you are managing the Scrum of Scrums, just focus on the agenda, don't let people solve the problems there. Because most of the time, when you are telling an issue, people would just brainstorm and go into the problem solving mode. So you should set the rules straight about it. And then send the notes with clear action items and the ETS.
I would also just quickly add, so when you do Scrum of Scrums, just like the daily stand-up, you might consider, like in daily stand-up, what do you do as an individual? What did I do yesterday? What am I planning to do today? And what are my blockers? So when you're representing a team, then the same rules apply. When you say my teams worked on this yesterday or last week, whatever your individual is, what's my plan, means my team's plan for the upcoming week, and where are we blocked on, as well as it's a good idea to incorporate one more aspect to say we are blocking other teams on. So add that fourth question, and your Scrums will be much better.
Thank you.
So, not just blocking other teams are on, or we're about to hand over to the other teams. Anything that this is about your interaction with the other teams. You want to let them know what's coming their way as well. And then to address your question of the people just want to talk. In your regular Scrum, you have a parking lot. I think you have a parking lot for this too, and you're going to have some agenda of regular things, and you're going to be trying to resolve. Do I start over again?
No,
Okay, so I was saying that, so he mentioned you have your, just like a Scrum, it balances out. You have your, what did I do yesterday or last week, and this is what my team did, and then you add to it, what are my team's blockers, and what am I going to throw out that's either going to block other teams or other teams need. We're going to have this for you, ready for you next sprint. Kind of, you add that information, and just like you use regular have a parking lot, you also will have a parking lot for your Scrum of Scrums, where you will have those discussions where people will do their deep dives. And I would maintain a backlog of those things that come up and make sure that they get resolved. And don't let them just fall away and be forgotten.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And most important aspect, I think, is about integration. So when multiple teams are trying to talk, the objective is to have their product integrated, right? Some kind of work product. So it's a good idea to focus on that aspect and come up with those integration points.
One thing I had to educate my new boss on the Scrum is that he thought it was the status meeting of all the teams, and he expected everyone to say how great things are going. And actually, I had to tell him, no, if things are going great, I actually don't want people to talk great.
Right.
And I want to hear about the problems and the interactions and the tendencies and so on. He was a little disappointed by that, I think.
Yeah.
I think it works a lot better that way.
I would have been even more blatant than you. I would have said, "What are you doing here in this meeting?
That's true.
Not your meeting, man." Yeah, I'm just joking, but it absolutely happens a lot, unfortunately. Like managers coming in and doing their routine. Anytime. Yeah. Any other stories, horror stories, fun stories?
So I have a question.
Please.
So my question is, we hear great stories about very successful companies like Google, Facebook, and Amazon, where they are all talking about multiple releases every minute. Have you thought about that? Like, what does it really mean? And how do they do that? How do they go into that kind of scale? If you have some kind of experience to share.
I'm not sure how well it fits or if it's part of Agile, but this is a software. I guess it's called software. This is the concept of continuous integration. I guess some of you are familiar with this concept, those who are in the software industry at least. And it's been around for a few years now, getting better all the time. The idea is, why are we releasing every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks or to the customer or for that matter every 3 months or whatever? Why not every moment? Anytime we have something new, let's push it through. And that's the idea of the continuous integration. As you can guess, in order not to make everybody crazy with this kind of dynamic, you need very good automatic systems that can control what comes in, what is accepted, automatic testing, continuous testing, all these kinds of things. So that's a technique in software development that a lot of companies adopt more and more because of the market value. If I can release something to the customer very frequently, that's good. By the way, continuous integration does not mean that every moment we release what we call production. Production is what the end users really see. Okay, it doesn't mean that it gets out to production every minute, because that is too dangerous and it will drive everybody crazy with changing features all the time continuously. But we don't also wait for 3 weeks before we push things out into integration and testing and preparations. We do it all the time, continuously. So we are not caught, even for a short sprint of 2 weeks, we are not caught towards the end of the sprint when we start testing, all of a sudden things don't work and we're in trouble. We do it a few times a day. And also there is also the strong concept of not to get too nervous about rejection. So you try to submit some new features, new improvements into this continuous release. The system tests it, it's not good, it gets rejected, boom, pushes out back to you. You have to fix things and make them better and try to push them through again. Get rejected again, and so on until finally it gets accepted. And it might be that this thing that you've been working got pushed in, rejected, may miss the official release of this cycle. That's fine, we'll continue to work on it and it will go to the next release. That's kind of, I think, that's what we're looking for. It's what people do today in the software arena. That's like a lot of companies do it now, not just Google. All kinds of companies.
How many years of maturity do you need to have that accomplished? How many years of Agile?
Very hard question. It's not necessarily Agile. You don't have to have an Agile methodology around this. You can do it without Agile. Actually, I was not very clear on that, but Agile definitely fits well with this. with this tactic. You have, I don't know about years, but you have to be a well-oiled machine. The agile machine has to be well-oiled. And from talking to other experts who have been doing it for a while, people say that around I would say 6-7 iterations, 6-7 sprints, you begin to more or less do things okay, and then another 5-6 you get really good. So I would say around the 10 roughly, probably makes sense to expect that you work more or less as an well-oiled machine, assuming nobody rioted and people didn't give trouble, but really tried to work together. I would say that's the right number. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question from an organization that is used to waterfall, trying to make an agile transition that has project managers. What the obvious role in it? Well, I know there's not an official role for them in a Scrum team, but what would be the obvious transition for them, or what has been successful, like to have them as a member of the Scrum team or as somebody who's providing program level? Yes.
What happens in history, which I'm not necessarily sure is the best thing, but in history it's the most natural thing for them to become the Scrum Master. Because the project manager usually is strongly about the process to create something. The project managers does not create something, they are about the process, right? It doesn't have to be a heavy process, about the process. So they are the most natural people to go into Scrum Master role, although they sometimes have difficulties to assume this role. Alternatively, I have seen project managers remain project managers, but not at the individual team level. They will usually be a high-level project manager over several different teams, and there they will be looking, they will impose some sort of a more waterfall kind of process on top of individual Scrum teams, and that actually is supposed to be able to work. Okay, that's what I see. Stop me when you need.
Yeah. Any other last question? There you go.
So in the description it talked a bit about your retrospective approach with the typical output being start, stop, continue doing. Do you have kind of a summary version of that based on, I mean, you communicated sort of a lot of the pitfalls that people run into here, but do you have, based on your experience, any nuggets that you would suggest there?
Yeah, I think a couple of nuggets which are, by the way, not only for Agile, but anywhere you would like a retrospective or something. So I like the symbol of start, stop, continue kind of thing. It's very simple to actually do it. In the meeting, some tips are do it effectively. So this is stuff from people, don't tell them what to say.
I'm sorry.
Maybe I didn't say it right.
Yeah. No,
I misunderstood, okay.
I may have communicated wrong. Yeah, I wasn't looking for your thoughts about retrospectives. I was looking more for the output of your retrospective, which is the way that this talk was positioned, right? Is in terms of your experience with Agile, right, and running Agile teams, and not so much teams. We know about the pushback for Agile, but for teams that are actually doing Agile, right, you've gotten past those roadblocks.
Yes.
Well, what key nugget would you care to share with us in terms of things to, let's say we're Scrum Masters, what do we keep doing, what should we stop doing, what should we start doing?
I would say stop trying to, I don't want to sound too negative, but stop trying to do it if you don't get support from your management. Okay? Because it's going to be much, much harder and possibly fail. It's the kind of the bad stuff. Something about if you manage to get the people around you to, the big problem that I found is that people have to buy into it mentally to the point where they need to be motivated. And that's the difficulty. Once they are motivated, saying, I'm not doing you a favor. I'm not saying I'm going to play the game because you asked me. That's not good enough. I want them to say, I'm going to play the game because I like what you said. I want to give it a chance. I really want to try. Honestly, from my heart. If you get to this point, everything is much easier. There's going to be problems, but they're much more open to learning and accepting all that. The trick is how do you do it? How do you get them to this point? I'm not sure I have a good answer. I have mixed experience. Some people you talk to and they're like immediately embraced and they're excited, and some people are all the way there. out the other way. And I'm not sure I have a nugget for that, of how to make that happen. And then something I already said is try to insist to work by the book in order to learn. Follow the process so you can learn, and from it you can learn what if you want to change or if you want to keep it. Because people think I'll do a sprint or two and I'll know what I need to know. It's not like this. Because it takes you 5, 6, 7, 8 sprints to just even figure out what your velocity is. And if you don't know what your velocity is, you cannot really well plan how much work you can do in a sprint. You plan not, you don't estimate correctly, you end up not doing a good job, failing, right, or not doing enough. So even this ramp up of learning your cadence, learning your speed, your velocity is important, and that takes time. So you need to tell them, you're going to be with me in the trenches for half a year at least, before you, although you might think so sooner, before you really are ready to start talking intelligently about what works, what doesn't work, and what do we want to do. Doesn't mean not to do retrospective along the way, but not to try to say, I understand Scrum now, I know perfectly, let's redo it. These are the things that come to my mind. I'm sure it's very, very useful.
I think it's a very good session, great engagement here, and being very, very practical. So thank you so much. We didn't hear any stories about, oh, rah, everything was all good, but it's
I think this is my next week.
Oh, the next one? Okay. In 6 months maybe? It's like, oh, I learned everything.
Yeah.
Now it's all good. Perfect. So it's amazing. I think we learned a lot. So from that perspective, just another couple minutes to see what did we learn today. Right? That's the hashtag, what did we learn today. Let's do that for a couple minutes. 1 point per person. Yep. Go ahead.
Difficulties with agile adoption.
Difficulties with agile adoption, that's reality. Thank you so much for sharing. Other aspects? Yeah?
The importance of an agile champion. We need our sponsor to be successful.
Yep.
There you go. Absolutely.
The waterfall method camouflaged as agile. That's really a beautiful point.
Exactly, right? And we've seen that.
You maybe have seen it in
Right. Absolutely there.
Importance of support from the management.
Importance of support from management. Yep. I always say it's a top-down and a bottom-up approach. Right. It's both. Yeah.
And how do we do the agile transformation? Like, going through the trainings, the coaching, and making sure everybody, understands the agile manifest.
Understand what it takes.
Yeah. So it's not just about hiring an agile coach and tomorrow everything will be fine. Right? It's not about that.
It's not a magic wand.
Yeah. Exactly.
And when I say what it takes, it means what it takes for the team and what it takes for management also to learn this stuff. Management has a role to learn.
Exactly. Everyone.
Maybe at the beginning of the transition towards agile is slightly negative because it takes time to adjust, all the parameters. But then once they are, there's normally an upward trend.
Exactly. So it's a negative curve before it gets lighter, as you said. Beautiful.